All right, so welcome back to another video. In today's video, I have Ricardo, who took my course quite some time ago. I think this was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We just wanted to, I know some of you guys have seen him in a testimonial, but I wanted to bring him back on the channel just to sort of give a recap and an update on what he's been up to, and even, elaborate on his story for the people that have not seen Ricardo or haven't heard of Ricardo and stuff like that. So I guess I'll kick it off by just asking a question of who first off, who is Ricardo? Tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just dive into your story.
All right. So I'd say a little about myself is I'm naturally stubborn. For example, like if I'm working, when I used to, work on cars, just go through YouTube because YouTube is pretty much university free online. You can learn whatever the hell you want. You get Harvard classes for computing on that. And just like I'm naturally hard-headed, but I'm not stupid.
Right.
If you're hard-headed and you're stupid, then it's not gonna look really good for you or whatever. But thankfully, that hard-headedness and being able to, question everything, always ask why. Like, why is it always this way when people are saying it has to be that way and put you in a box and whatnot. So pretty much when I started my journey when it came to digital marketing was I was in school. I was in My degree was business information systems. After a while, I was in the coding classes and I saw the people there, and I'm like, these people have no social skills, and I'm an extrovert. I cannot do this. So I wanted to know how the hell I could get out of school without having to be 40, 80, $120,000 worth in debt. So funny enough, within the next semester, they were going to introduce, I believe, some form of digital marketing, but I looked at the actual transcript because the whole entire course wasn't even pretty much made or the degree, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I feel like anyone who's my age or younger pretty much knows all this damn stuff already. I don't want to go into debt for this. This is ridiculous.
Right, right. Because the college curriculums are really outdated when it comes to digital marketing, especially SEO. I mean, I don't even think they really go over SEO in most of these. They really just talk about like, advertising. And honestly, they don't even talk about it in the standpoint of digital. They talk about it from the standpoint of like what used to work with newspaper and stuff like that. So it's just crazy.
That's true. I'd only say like maybe out of all the universities within the country, less than 5% actually have it to where it may be useful, but with how many people are in the country and they may want to get into digital marketing, that's not great. That's not that many damn options.
And like you said, like paying $120,000 to learn this, when there's so many different options available online for as a cheaper solution. Like my course right now, the lowest pricing is $500 and the highest is $800, and the only difference between those two, I mean, between three options, but the only difference between each option is the level of access that you get, right? Whereas like uh, colleges are charging, you know, $40,000, 20, like it's just crazy to go into debt. And it doesn't even, and they're not even going to show you the most up to date stuff. So kind
Right.
of talk about that. So what made you say, okay, you said you didn't want to do it because obviously the fees, but what made you start looking it up online, or how did you get into that?
So essentially, I was just always been a person that's been on YouTube just trying to learn new stuff. And if you just Google how to make money online and how to do this, that, and the third, get in the rabbit hole like everybody else and whatnot, then I came across, I believe it was Seth's course, went through it, and I was like, all right, this is good, but I feel like I need more, then went through pretty much came directly to you and whatnot because I saw you and another person, yes, you and Cynthia, and I saw the growth that you guys have had, and then you started essentially offering your own courses or services, and I was like, you know what? I've looked at how many testimonials. These people don't even live that far away from me. They're like the next day over. And I just connected with you and her at the same time. It was like, all right, these people are doing what I want to do. They pretty much were on the same path of they didn't want to get into debt or they were in a different role or a job that they didn't like, and they managed to pretty much turn it all around. I was like, you know what, I want to be where they're at, you know, and even
Yeah.
if I have to pay a little or a lot, it's pretty much a cheat code because I'm not having to do 4 years of being in a classroom with half of the stuff that's like not even relevant. That's just dumb.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah. And at this time, when you were in school and you know, you're doing your searches online and stuff like that, what were you doing as a profession?
Honestly, funny enough, because I was in school, I would think I was like a Domino's driver
Wow.
before like my car broke down when I was driving a hoopty. Thankfully that's not there anymore. But yeah, it's just school and Domino's.
Yeah. So okay, so you know, so you took a couple courses, you know, like you said, you mentioned Seth's course. And then obviously I think you were able to land your first job. Now, what was your first job? And you know, I guess yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. You don't have to go into like specifics of what the company was and stuff like that, but just like at a high
Mhm.
level, you know, what was your first job? What were you doing and what did that look like?
So funny enough, my first role was quote unquote a digital marketing director. But for that, I had to do anything, pretty much everything and anything under the sun, which was uploading products to Amazon, optimizing the listings, doing customer service, doing paid ads, doing some basic level of SEO, just helping all around. But I pretty much had to do everything and anything. And even though it was one of the toughest roles, I like to say that after, the courses, it made me a little bit more well-rounded. But obviously, thankfully, I got out of that once. I was like, you know what? This is gonna burn me out, and I don't want to do this and get
Yeah,
paid more.
I remember when you came to me and we sort of talked about that. And you know, I don't like I'm not gonna say, you know, how you know the salary range. I don't know if you want to say that, but I know it wasn't within, you know, what you were looking for. Um, and especially for what they had you doing, you know, it's just crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I always tell because right now you're in a more specialized role. And that's why I focus on SEO specifically because the better you become at a single channel, the easier it is for you to command more money. I always tell people that. That's why my course is super specialized. But now you're in this new role that is paying you, you know, about what, like $35,000 more or something like that. And or is my math right? I think so. And you're you know you're in a position where you're hybrid, you know, so you have so what does that look like? Like how many days of the week do you have to go into the office versus how many days of the week do you work from home?
So essentially, I just have to be in the office, I believe, twice a week, but sometimes I just go 3 times a week just because, being remote is great. But I think the thing I like most about hybrid is you have that option if there's a day where there's so many meetings and you just want to be in actual person. I think having that actual connection with your actual managers, your account leaders, and just account managers in general is that you have that camaraderie where you could come into the office when you need to, but it doesn't have to be every damn day because you're saving on gas, you're saving on your mental and health space, and you get to sleep. Some people have to drive hours just to get to work.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I'm happy for you, man. I remember when we first started talking about this and this was your goal. You know, one thing that I wanted to ask you is like, you know, as far as because you're in a SEO focused role now, do you feel like after taking my course, the things that you are having to do is sort of like the course basically prepared you for that? Do you feel like the work is easier for you to grasp now because of the fact that of all the things that we did with the exercises and stuff like that? Like talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like for example, not to get too specific for what you had me do, but I remember one of them was just like, just go through this audit, but understand that I'm going to critique the hell out of it. And I was like, wait, I understand that, but what do you mean like the hell out of it? It's like, they are going to nitpick every damn thing that is in that presentation. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. And now I'm like, okay, now I see what he's talking about. I was like, it could be the smallest, minute thing, but like, I'm not saying they're asking for perfection, but my middle name is not Jesus. All right. Like, that's all I'm saying. But it helps you.
Yeah.
But it helps you. It helped me just understand that I have to look deeply into everything more that I'm doing within SEO and understand the logic. And when it comes to client facing and these presentations and making them, yes, you want to make them perfect, but you also want to dumb it down just a little bit so they can understand it.
100%. And honestly, that's what I always tell people. You know, most of SEO really is being a good business consultant. Like if you can create a deck that articulates a message and you can get that message across to people, that's really what your job is. I mean, you work with different internal stakeholders in order to to get the ball moving, because obviously our goal really with SEO is to help people make money. That's what clients hire us for. But a lot of the times, especially depending on the size of the clients that you're working with, there's so much red tape that you have to get around, you know, legal stickiness
Yeah,
and all that other stuff. So it really just depends on the level of clientele that you're working with. But for the most part, you know, like once you are able to do that, because with every client, no matter what type of client you're working with every client, you're going to have to be able to articulate that message. And once you're able to do that, you know, that's why I focus so much on the communication aspect. And I think you probably realize that now as well, like you just said, because it's SEO is really a game of how can I get buy-in? You know, like you can be the best at SEO, but if you cannot speak about it, if you cannot explain certain things, if you cannot take very advanced concepts and just break them down, it really doesn't matter. And that's
right.
ultimately what the employer wants, you know, and even in that interview stage, like when you're presenting yourself, like you have to be able to present yourself in a way that sort of like demonstrates that. So that's why I always tell people to focus on that. You know, let's talk a little bit about that interview process though before getting into the role. So what was your interview process like? What did it look like? How many stages was it, at least for this specific company? And what were some of the challenges that you had and some of the things that you felt like you were able to overcome in that initial interview stage because of, you know, some of the tactics and tricks that you might have learned in the course?
So I would say the first thing is, one of the things that you taught me and the things that I've learned just like from just school, because a lot of people are technical and they have a good IQ, but their EQ is horrible. Like
Yeah.
they're not able to connect with people, like they're off in the corner by themselves or whatever. But like thankfully I'm not like that. So I think that's one of the things that you had talked about is you essentially have to be able to be a people person, but also be able to be technical as well. So during the interview process, I believe it was 2 to 3 rounds. I don't remember the whole thing, but the first one, I think it's initially for anyone, is you got to go through the HR. That it just is what it is. And if you could get through that, I'm saying there's light at the end of the tunnel. But if you can't, then I'm sorry. It shouldn't be that hard to get through HR. It really shouldn't.
That's that's true. Because honestly, that process of talking to HR is really about building that personal relationship. A lot of the times, the HR manager that you're talking to is not going to know anything about marketing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's been some instances where somebody that I was talking to did know, but that's rare. That's very rare. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I guess like looking now into where you're at, you know, you're primarily SEO, but now like as you told me before, you didn't say this on this call yet, but we're gonna get into this. You're about to, you know, be doing both SEO and SEM, which for people that don't know what SEM is, it's just paid advertising. So like Google Ads and stuff like that. So now you're gonna be doing both of those two in tandem with each other, right? And would you say it's really because they realize that you have like a sort of like a level of mastery of the SEO skill, even though there might be certain things that you need to, you know, further your education on, because there's things
Mhm.
that we all need to get better at. You know, do you feel like that you've been put in essentially a good situation to where now it's easier for you to advocate for yourself to do SEM work? And in tandem with that thought, um, or along with that thought, would you also say that this is going to be easier for you now to go in and sort of like command even more money than what you're making right now? Like you're already at a decent salary, you know, I'll say like above 65, which is good, you know, and so that's great. Do you feel like you're in that position now to be like, hey, you know, like I'm good at SEO. You guys already see that now because I'm good at SEO and I focused on this thing and I honed in on this. I can do your because you were already doing paid advertising at the other company, but you just transitioned.
Mhm.
So now you can even demonstrate even further the skill set of I'm also good at paid advertising and I need to make this much more or I need a commission based thing worked out in my offer. Like, do you feel confident about that?
Yeah, I do. I do believe so. Just because I'm more newer within the actual company, yes, they see that I have the history and whatnot. But once I just start knock a couple things out the park, I believe once that's done and they're like, all right, he already showed his stripes, you know what I'm saying? Then
Yeah,
after that, it should be good because the main thing that I liked about doing SEO and paid is that they're intertwined, like so much so that a lot of people don't even understand. It's like, for example, the keyword planner tool is pretty damn limited. So I like to use SEM Rush. That's literally my favorite tool. That
true,
thing
true, true.
does everything and anything.
Yep.
And a lot of times the paid team will be like, hey, we need more keywords. The planner is not doing that much for us. I was like, oh, I got you. I'm just spitting this stuff out, giving them negative keywords. Like, how do you know to do this? Because I'm like, they affect each other. For example, if like the navigation of your website or the copy of your website, if it doesn't make sense and you're sending people there and you're spending Lord knows how much money and whatnot, ain't nobody gonna buy a damn thing on there.
Nobody's gonna buy anything, or if your load time is super high,
Yeah,
you're gonna bounce off. You're not gonna get conversions. It's gonna be a whole hot mess. So you have to know both. You're absolutely right. And you know what? That's why I think when you're something that I've been thinking about making a video about this recently. When you're a SEO, you should, and you're a freelancer, like for anybody who wants to freelance that's watching this, you should absolutely pair SEO with SEM. And the reason why I say that is because SEO is a great skill to have, but it's hard to scale in terms of revenue for you as a freelancer. So normally whatever whatever retainer you sell that client at, that's sort of like the retainer until the next year until you're able to show that you've gotten results, and then you have to like justify next year, okay, I did this for you, now I want to do it, now we should expand the scope to do XYZ. Whereas with paid advertising, you don't have to do that. You can charge a percentage of ad spend. But since you can charge a
right.
percentage of ad spend, it's like the more the better results you get from them. If you get better results on a month to month basis, you're going to grow your own revenue as well. You know what I mean? Because you're making them more money, they're going to spend more money, and then as a result, you make more money in general. And then you have the two things. It solves the problem of explaining to a business owner, hey, SEO takes months to get you results because you're selling both. So you fix that issue by selling paid search because it's like, well, you're working with me, you're going to get leads right away. But then once the SEO picks up, that kind of snowballs as well. So it's like you can't really lose by selling both of them, especially if you're focusing on service-based businesses. So that's one thing I definitely say, for anybody watching this, if you ever aspire to freelance, you sell that as a blended strategy, and that's super important. So it's good to see that you're doing that, and you're also in a role that encourages that, because now, like, if you ever decide to branch out of that, you can charge for both. So speaking of branching out, I guess this is sort of like, as we're wrapping this up, because time is going by pretty fast. What's the next, what does the future look like for you? What are your plans? What are your goals? Like, what do you want to accomplish? And yeah, like what does that look like for you? And I'm excited for you, by the way, because I've seen you grow so much, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Hey, I'd say like the plan for me is just like now that like the world's opening up and whatnot, it's just this year, it's just to figure out how to like network better now that like, the world's open and whatnot, be in New York, utilize other platforms that'll be good for actual networking and be in the places where people actually are. You could be in the middle of Utah and you're like the greatest thing ever and whatnot. But if ain't no one around you, like iron sharpens iron, then after a while you're just gonna become a dull knife. And I don't ever want that.
Yep.
And well,
Yep. 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 That's true, man. That's true. And that's why it's so important, like you said, to even like the Slack community. We still have that Slack community where everybody's in there and we're all talking to each other and we're all making sure that everybody's on top of everything. And that's sort of what you need, as you grow. You need like a community of people to keep your skill set fresh, and to, like you said, iron sharpens iron. So that's super important, man. Like, I'm so happy for you, bro. I remember when we first started working together, I was like, yo, this is what's gonna happen. They're gonna critique you with this stuff, and they're gonna look at this, and every little detail is gonna matter. And you gotta have periods at the end of every single
yeah.
right?
Not gonna lie. First, I was like, "Nah, he tripping. They're not gonna notice everything." I was like, "No, they're gonna notice every damn thing." Wow. All right, I'm gonna get better at this. But I was like, "Whoo! All right,
It,
bet.
it's
No worries."
it's something that you have to adapt to. It's definitely something you have to adapt to. But listen, man, I really appreciate your time. And like, if anybody wants to follow your journey, I will definitely add your LinkedIn profile and whatever links you want to send me, whether it's Instagram or whatever. But I'm proud of you, bro. Like I'm really happy to see you grow, and I want to continue to see you succeed over time. And you already know we're gonna hang out. Like we're gonna, you know, when it's time, like we gonna make some plans in New York, or you come out here. But
Yep.
that's what I'm in the building of, man. I'm in the building of building relationships, and you know I don't work with people that I wouldn't hang out with. So I'm
Right.
so I'm happy for you, bro. Like congratulations, and I want to continue to see you succeed.
Thank you so much, man. I wouldn't be here without you.
Thanks, man.